This is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections Videos. I'd like to talk today about a subject that I haven't heard mentioned a lot, and that is the effect that our job has on our family and our relatives. When you take a job as an officer, whether it's a police officer, correctional officer, probation officer, it's going to have a profound effect on you, but it's also going to have a profound effect on your family. This occurred to me quite frequently, but particularly during the holiday seasons. When you become an officer, you can plan for the first 5 or 6 years of your career that you're not going to be able to celebrate birthdays on birthdays. You're not going to be able to celebrate Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving Day, Christmas on Christmas Day, the 4th of July on the 4th of July. You're going to have to make adjustments. You know, for the first 5 years that I was in corrections, I didn't have off any Christmases. I was young, I was newly married, we didn't have children, so a lot of times I would trade shifts with people who had families to make sure that they could get off with their families. Now, not everybody's going to do that. Things have changed over the course of years, but you need to remember the effect that's going to have on your family. Now, as I said, for the first 5 years that I worked for the state, my wife and I didn't have children, and my wife's family took her in for the holidays. She spent Christmas, New Year's, whatever the holiday was. If I was working, she stayed by her parents. Well, then all of a sudden we had kids, and I'm not able to celebrate Christmas with my wife and kids until the 27th. For the first probably 15 years that I worked in corrections, I had a 6 on, 2 off schedule. Monday, Tuesday, 1 week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Thursday, Friday. Then I'd get weekends, and I'd get a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And if I was lucky, the holiday may have fell on those. But generally, they didn't, and I didn't spend the holidays with my family. I can't begin to count the number of Christmas Eves I spent in the company of felons. And that's something that is going to happen to you when you work in a prison. It's also going to be something that happens to you when you work as a street cop. Working as a patrol officer, even when I was doing it part-time, I spent more New Year's Eves either in the prison or working on the road than I ever did celebrating at home. And you've got to realize the effect that has on your family. My family was young enough so that they adjusted to it. They knew that, Dad had to work Christmas Eve, so we'll celebrate it a couple days early, we'll celebrate it a couple days late, we'll go up to Grandma's and Grandpa's and we'll celebrate it at Grandma and Grandpa's. And that's all fine and good, and that becomes your normal. But the fact is, it's not normal, and you have to realize that. You have to realize the effect it's going to have on you, and you have to realize the potential effect it's going to have on your relationships. It's not easy being married to a correctional officer or a police officer. One example I cited is I was used to things running on schedule, and that transferred to home. If I told my daughter that her curfew was midnight, she had to be in the house at midnight, 12:01 didn't cut it. That wasn't midnight. She had to be in by midnight. And if it was 12:01, 12:02, guess what? Dad reverted to being an officer, and instead of being a father and saying, okay, well, she's only 2 minutes late, I was kind of a jerk sometimes, and I will admit that. This job is going to have a profound effect on you and your family. Ask my kids what it was like growing up being the cop's kid. Ask any kid what it's like growing up being the cop's kid. A lot of her friends, our house was the house that all the kids hung out at. So they all knew me. And they didn't know me as Keith the cop. They didn't know me as Captain Keith. They knew me as Keith. They saw me as a person. But their other friends in school who didn't know me as Keith knew me as Officer Keith. They knew me as Captain Keith or Lieutenant Keith when I worked for the county. They didn't know me as Keith the individual, Keith the father, Keith the guy who could go out in the yard and play basketball in the driveway with neighbor kids. You know, Keith, the guy who would get on the ground and wrestle with kids and play and have a good time. They didn't know that Keith. They only saw the other Keith. And that affected my kids at school as well. You know, knowing that their dad was a cop. You know, that does have a profound effect. So these are all things you have to think about when you get into this profession. You know, it's an honorable profession. Regardless of how society makes us look today, corrections and police work is an honorable profession. Unfortunately, we've let society dictate the values of our profession without realizing the value of our profession. So until next time, this is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections Videos. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, stay safe, and watch your back.